It is Sunday, the 6th of September 2020. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on Channel 1 Weekend. I do trust you had yourself a beautiful day, despite it was all well in Nairobi amid the chilly weather experienced the whole day. I hope you are enjoying your night and, of course, the broadcast. Welcome to a comprehensive coverage of the day's events that have been taking center stage here in the country and also globally. It's Sunday, and you know, every Sunday Family Matters is on, and tonight we focus on the welfare of nurses in the country. They are part of the team at the front line in the war or in the fight against the COVID-19 disease. Coincidentally, the World Health Organization designated 2020 as the year of the nurse and the midwife, and of course this comes at a time when they are all burdened by the COVID-19 cases. And in the last 24 hours we had quite a small number of cases, 83 from a sample size of 3,000. And is the curve flattening? Then we'll be having details of that and much more. Tonight we speak with the nurses president, the president of the National Nurses Association of Kenya, Alfred Obengo, will be telling us some of the issues that are, or some of the issues around the nurses sector, and of course what are some of the concerns that they are raising during this time that they are in the fight, in the front line fighting the COVID-19 disease. The hashtag to use tonight is Family Matters KBC. You can tweet us at purity_museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. I'll be glad to interact with you during the broadcast, and of course when that time for that interview comes, do talk to us. Let's begin now our broadcast with the day's highlights. COVID-19 pandemic curve showing signs of flattening as the country reports 83 new cases from 3,093 samples tested in the last 24 hours.
Wale ambao tunafanya kazi katika serikali ya Jubilee, mimi na waulizeni, sisi wote tuungane, tutekeleze manifesto tuliowapatia wananchi wa Kenya.
Deputy President William Ruto asks civil servants to stop politicking and focus on implementing government's development agenda.
In the general elections of 2022, I, your son, your brother, one of you, Alfred Nganga Mutua, will vie to be the next president of the Republic of Kenya.
And Machakos County Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua formally launches his 2022 presidential bid. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is Purity Museo, and Byron Abuli is our sign language interpreter tonight. Let's begin our broadcast. The coronavirus pandemic curve could be flattening as the country reported 83 new cases from 3,093 samples tested in the last 24 hours. The new cases indicate a 2.6% positivity rate and below the 5% benchmark approved by the World Health Organization to measure the extent of the infection in a country. Kenya now has a cumulative of 35,103 confirmed cases from 474,477 samples tested. So far, the country also lost 3 patients in the last 24 hours, taking the death toll to 597. The steady drop in the number of coronavirus infections that has been witnessed in the country since August has raised hopes on the country's ability to flatten the curve in the next couple of weeks. On Saturday, Kenya's COVID-19 positivity rate dropped to 2.68% after 83 new infections were recorded from 3,093 samples tested in the last 24 hours. The drop in the coronavirus cases is below the 5% benchmark approved by the World Health Organization, WHO, to indicate that a country was flattening the curve. However, according to WHO, the positivity rate has to be maintained for at least 14 days before the country could be declared to achieve the benchmark. Kenya's novel coronavirus cases now stand at 35,103. The infections are from a cumulative sample of 474,477. from the new infections. All are Kenyans except 6 foreigners. 58 are males and 25 are females. The youngest is a 1-year-old infant, while the oldest is 85. Nairobi recorded 27 cases, Busia 15, Kisumu 17, Nakuru and Machakos 7 cases each, Kiambu 5 cases, Laikipia and Kisii 3 cases each, while Kirinyaga, Mombasa, Nyandarua and Uasin Gishu recorded a case each. 72 patients recovered from the deadly COVID-19 disease, 39 from home-based care program, and 33 were discharged from various hospitals. Total recoveries now stand at 21,230. 3 patients succumbed to the disease, bringing the number of fatalities to 597. Elsewhere, Deputy President William Ruto is asking civil servants to stop politicking and focus on implementing the Jubilee administration's development agenda. Ruto said civil servants should work towards fulfilling the pledges the party made to Kenyans during the last general election.
Deputy President William Ruto Sunday attended church service at Anglican Church of Kenya, St. Paul at the River in Machakos County, where he lashed at civil servants focused on politicking rather than implementing the government's development agenda.
Wale ambao tunafanya kazi katika serikali ya Jubilee, mimi na waulizeni, sisi wote tuungane, tutekeleze manifesto tuliowapatia wananchi wa Kenya ya Big 4. Tushughulikie mambo ya kuzalisha chakula zaidi, tuondoe njaa, mambo ya housing na manufacturing, tuongeze nafasi za kazi, na mambo ya universal health coverage, tupunguze gharama ya matibabu kwa Wakenya wengi.
Ruto cautioning those interested in pursuing elective positions that this was not the right time to do so.
Mambo mengi yamekwama. Tafadhali tuhakikishe ya kwamba priorities zetu ni vile tutafufua uchumi, tutahakikisha kwamba tunatekeleza miradi ya serikali, ndio tuweze kuleta Wakenya wote katika mahali ambapo tunaweza kuzungumza kama ndugu na dada wa taifa moja.
He said those who have been given an opportunity to serve at different levels in government should desist from cheap politics, stop their pride and show humility while discharging their duties and stop hurling insults to each other.
Vishindo vya kiburi na makali ya matusi tupunguze, ndio tuweze kufikia yale malengo Mheshimiwa Rais na serikali yetu ya Jubilee tuliweka kwa minajili ya kutekeleza maendeleo katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
Staying with politics, ODM party leader Raila Odinga is now urging senators to put aside partisan interest and pass the proposed county revenue sharing formula. Raila said the protracted stalemate had hurt county operations and it was time for the voice of reason to prevail. He spoke days after governors warned the counties are likely to shut operations if the impasse continues.
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga pitched camp in Kakamega County for a closed-door meeting with the chair of the Council of Governors and ODM Deputy Party Leader, Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya, just 2 days after he warned that counties risk closure if the current stalemate on revenue allocation formula persists. Raila calling on senators to put aside partisan politics and pass the revenue sharing proposals and avert hurting further county operations.
Ukiona kama kuna senator watu wake wanapata pesa na nakataa, sio tia anapenda wale wengine zaidi. Kuna nuksi. Kuna swali. Ujiulize. Ujiulize. Hii kitu gani? Kuna swali. Sina swali. Mama nataka jibu. Na hiyo jibu itatoka kwa wao, sio kwangu.
Raila also called on the MCS to trumpet BBI contents as the discourse around the initiative has been narrowed down to referendum alone, yet the document contained many good facets that would ensure Kenyans benefited wholesomely from the constitution.
Hiyo tu mambo ya katiba peke yake. Lakini mambo mengi zaidi. Kwa hivyo BBI sio tu constitutional amendment. BBI ni kuangalia mambo mengi zaidi. Hawa Waluhya wanaishi namna gani? Watu wako na furaha, wanatambuliana sawa sawa. Tuko hapa na Isuha na Idaho na Basotho na Banyala Balundombi Wanga.
He also revealed that Oparanya was now his point man in the region, putting to rest any hopes of working with Mudavadi or Wetangula.
Yes. Na farasi ni wawili. Nataka ikuwe wazi. Na farasi ni timu ya handshake na ile timu nyingine ya tangatanga. Hakuna hii nyingine katikati hakuna. Na sisi tunasema Raila Amolo Odinga, sisi tumekupatia ndugu yetu. Ndugu yetu Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya. Na huyo ndio tunasema utembee na yeye. Huyo amesimama na wewe tangu mwanzo na mpaka mwisho. Lakini wengine wanakuja, wanakaa kando kando, tukiwa katika meza ya mazungumzo hawakuji. Saa hizi tunajua tujui mtu mwingine hapa. Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, tembea tu na Oparanya. Huyo ni wako na sisi tumesema tuko nyuma yake, mahali mtaenda na sisi pale pale. Hatutaki mtu mwingine anazunguka huko. Anazunguka anakuja kudanganya. Si hapana.
Mahali utasema niwe, nitakuwa hapo. Lakini vile nimeambia hawa, mimi mambo ya county na wachana nayo. Wengine waendeshe mambo ya county. Mimi nataka sasa kwenda wapi? Kule juu. Sasa kule juu mwenyewe utaangalia nafasi ambayo mimi nitaingilia hapo. Tungangane kule ndio mambo iendelee. Na wewe mwenyewe umeniona kama tumekuwa na wewe miaka hii karibu. Wewe unajua ile mimi naweza kufanya na ile siwezi kufanya. Kama mimi ni mtu wa ukweli au
ambayo tutafanya nao pamoja. Kwa sababu naambia Wycliffe sasa awache ligi ya chini. Aje katika ligi ya juu. Unakubali? Unakubali? Unamunga mkono? Mimi najua manake tumefanya na yeye.
Achola Simon, reporting for Channel 1 Weekend from Kakamega County.
To more politics, Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua has launched his 2022 presidential bid. Mutua says he has been motivated to seek the highest office to offer solutions to many challenges currently facing the nation. The Machakos governor claimed 60 years after independence, the dream of a prosperous Kenya where no one is left behind, where hard work is rewarded fairly and properly, and where dreams come true still remains an illusion.
Machakos Governor Dr. Alfred Mutua has now thrown his hat on the ring. Dr. Mutua says he will be seeking to be the Kenya's president in 2022. To save this nation, he claims to be on a downward spiral.
In the general elections of 2022, I, your son, your brother, one of you, Alfred Nganga Mutua, will vie to be the next president of the Republic of Kenya, so as to return Kenya to the railway tracks of where we were meant to be after independence.
For Mutua, Kenyans are tired of a system that has over the years let them down. The Machakos governor says Kenya is a great country, but the style of politics and the way leaders are chosen has made the country continue to suffer, with a few billionaires and millionaires of poor, struggling, unemployed and desperate people.
Are you happy with the way things are going on in our country, Kenya? Is Kenya a fair country where you are treated equally when you seek opportunities and jobs?
His bid, according to the governor, will usher in a new dispensation, a new era, a new period of better leadership and life. Mutua claims the tears of joy at independence have become tears of pain and agony, and the eyes of Kenyans no longer sparkle with hope but are clouded with fear and confusion. The Machakos governor says he has agonized about the pain and the political circus going on in the country, and the time was ripe for a young, dynamic, innovative but mature leader, a person who understands the system but is not a captive of the system.
Kenyans want a leader who does not have baggage, a leader who is not divisive, a leader who does not hold grudges, a leader who will move with all Kenyans despite their tribal, regional, economic and social status.
And he is promising to take Kenya to the moon, creating 5 million jobs in the first 3 years, building roads and highways in every constituency, and maintain new ones to create an environment for growth.
Our education will produce young and dynamic citizens who will find jobs waiting for them. We will roll back poverty and restore dignity to all, regardless of where you are born or your social or political dispensation.
Mutua promises to crack hard to eliminate bureaucracy, cut wastage, and enable the business community to thrive in a predictable environment that rewards success and not corruption. And with his slogan, "We need to start afresh," Mutua says his politics will not be about mobilizing tribes but mobilizing the economy and against poverty.
Sasa ni wakati wa fresh. Uwe Mukami au Mwikali, uwe Suzana au Katerina, Jerry au Lawino, Fatma au Wafula, wewe ni Mkenya. Dondoka juu mambo ni fresh na Mutua.
Even as the 2022 political drumbeats continue to hit the waves and leaders from different political divide continues to warm up for the top seat in the land, it is evident that what is ailing the country is runaway corruption. The biggest question, however, is Dr. Alfred Nganga Mutua ready to be the savior on war on graft? Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News from Machakos County.
Thank you so much, Timothy Kipnusu, for that report. The Archbishop of Nairobi, John Cardinal Njue, is calling on leaders to desist from making utterances that are likely to cause friction and division in the country. Speaking at the Holy Family Basilica during Sunday Mass, which coincided with the 17th memorial of the late Maurice Cardinal Otunga, Cardinal Njue urged Kenyans to turn to God and pray for the preservation of the gains made in unifying the country.
The Archbishop of Nairobi, John Cardinal Njue, is calling for political tolerance in the country. In his message to Kenyans on Sunday, Cardinal Njue warned leaders against making utterances that may balkanize the country.
Let us pray really for all our leaders, that they may be truly instrumental in bringing us together and to avoid all confrontations, and divisions, because that won't help this country and will put us in deeper problems.
Cardinal Njue spoke amid growing political intrigues with the fallout over the eviction of squatters from Mau Forest, providing fodder for the political class. Bahati MP Kimani Ngunjiri and Baringo County Assembly Clerk have, however, called on the president to break his silence and rein in on cabinet secretaries who they argued have formed the habit of undermining and insulting Deputy President William Ruto.
Deputy President, he has worked for you. And that's why hamutaweza kuangusha hata mkifanya nini. You will not be able. Kwa sababu nothing wrong he has done. Amefanya mambo mazuri. Lakini shida yako president wetu, ambaye mimi nakupenda sana, tumefanya kazi na wewe. Kunyamaza. Fifaranga watukanage deputy. I will not accept that.
Hatuna wasiwasi mkiita yeye clerk. Mimi ni clerk wa title ya kazi. Na karani ni wengi. Hiyo haitatustua, hiyo haitatupatia wasiwasi.
Alleged that Deputy President William Ruto is on a mission to undermine the head of state through premature political campaigns.
It's 177 days since Kenya reported the first case of COVID-19, and nurses are not happy. Talking of unpaid allowances, substandard PPEs, we already have over 21,000 recoveries of COVID-19. So how best should they be protected? Tonight on Family Matters, we speak with Alfred Obengo, who is the President, National Nurses Association of Kenya, to highlight some of the challenges they are facing as they stay at the front line in response to COVID-19 pandemic, and of course some of the solutions. At Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag Family Matters KBC. We are taking our first commercial break. Don't go too far. We still have plenty more to come. Stay with us.
Matthew 25:34. Then the king will say to those on his right hand, "Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink."
Kupata Matthew 25:34, bonyeza *811 *961#.
Gear up and maintain a healthy, fit and active lifestyle right there at home by keeping up with Gear Up on Channel 1, 5:30 to 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Gear up every day for every moment, and remember to stay home and keep safe.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Welcome back. The Anglican Church of Kenya is asking parents to take keen interest in the moral and spiritual development of their children. Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit reminds parents that it is their God-given responsibility to nurture their children and make them understand good morals.
Delivering his homily during a family service at All Saints Cathedral, the Anglican Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit blamed rampant ill vices among the children on parents who have remained aloof as their children got lured from the ways of God.
So many of our children are reported to have been either married off early or early pregnancies will not allow most of our girls to go back to school. What was lacking is a better foundation at the family level.
The Most Reverend Dr. Jackson Ole Sapit calling for protection of children if the future of this nation was to be safeguarded.
We need to channel the word of God to our children to the extent that it becomes that's where they draw their pleasure from. Because God is with them, then they are pleasuring being with God, other than finding pleasure elsewhere. Because if we leave them without an opportunity to find pleasure in the presence of God, they will look for pleasure in other places where the devil will torment and destroy them.
At the same time, he called for adherence of laid down COVID-19 prevention protocols in places of worship by all faithful. This as the Archbishop of Nairobi, John Cardinal Jue, called upon peaceful coexistence among families. He said responsible parenting was key in ending vices among young people.
Tusichoke nukusikia hii kisemwa. Tumuulize Mungu kweli aweze kusaidia viongozi wetu wote, ili yale yote yatakayosemwa, ili yale yote yatakayotendwa yawe ni yale yatatusaidia kuishi pamoja kama ndugu na dada, bila kupoteza wakati na mahali kweli tumetoka.
Cardinal Jue spoke during the Sunday Mass at the Holy Family Basilica. The day also coincided with the 17th memorial of the late Maurice Cardinal Otunga.
And Evans Kidiga on Twitter, you tuned in from Mlango Kubwa. You're saying you're catching the bulletin. Samson Villa, Imbo Majengo tunawangoja. Okay, and then Pedro Mbugwa, you're saying the welfare of the nurses should be addressed, especially currently with this pandemic. They should be given enough PPEs. It's in response to our discussion tonight on the welfare of the nurses in the country. And then you're saying the government should effectively support them in the fight against COVID-19. That's EDIS. That's what you're saying on Twitter. Keep tweeting, keep talking to us. Tonight on the show, we speak about the welfare of nurses in the country. Are they being protected during this time? They are risking their lives to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. At Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag Family Matters KBC. The government has stepped up surveillance in Wajir County by creating an additional local administrative unit to deter infiltration of Al-Shabaab insurgents along the border of Kenya and Somalia, creation of the new Korof Harar sub-county, and a deployment of more security forces in the area has boosted the confidence of residents in their local administration.
Residents of Garissa, Konton, Kutulo and Horo Harar in Wajir East constituency in Wajir County know too well the bane of insecurity. Despite the threat of terror attacks, residents trek about 130 kilometers seeking government services. But with the creation of Horof Harar sub-county, hived off from Wajir East sub-county, and the presence of a fully fledged police post, residents can now rest easy.
Maisha ya wananchi wa kawaida imebadilika kwa sababu hapo mbeleni kulikuwaga na shida, ilikuwa mali ambayo ilikuwa inaccessible kwa lugha ya Kimombo, lakini sasa hakuna shida hata kidogo.
Wananchi mia wanalala sasa bila usasi, kina mama na wazee. Lama tu Korofarar mwe hiko kambi mbili. Sasa yote yanalete bidii na kushirikiana mheshimiwa yote imbi msirishit kasa.
During the opening of Horof Harar administration offices funded by the Wajir East County Development Fund, Wajir County Commissioner Jacob Narengo said the government has tightened security along the porous Kenya-Somali border to contain intrusion of the Al-Shabaab militia.
Full establishment of the sub-county goes a long way, okay, in ensuring that we bring services closer to the people in this particular sub-county of Korofarar.
Narengo urging residents to share critical information with authorities stationed at the newly created Horof Harar sub-county.
They need to work closely with the security formations that the government has established along the borderline by sharing information, by ensuring that they volunteer information, by ensuring that they don't entertain or embrace foreign elements within our border. They should be able.
Wajir East Member of Parliament Rashid Kasim expressed his commitment to cooperate with the security apparatus in the area to ensure security prevails.
So I will make a firm commitment, and I will use the resources that have been given to us, particularly through CDF, so that we can be able to meet its two critical functions, which is education and security. So we'll be able to collaborate with the county governments and county leadership so that we can be able to maintain law and order and support security in the region.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
In Kiambu County, a plastic manufacturing plant in Kikuyu town of Kiambu County valued at millions of shillings has been reduced to ashes. The fire is said to have started from the top floor of the factory where welders were doing some repair work, spreading to the entire building. Locals claim it took long for the firefighting engine to arrive from Kiambu town and want the country government to set up a fire station in the area.
Ya juu kwa sababu ni ya ghorofa na kuna watu walikuwa wafanya services za repair kwa welding na moto ikatoka huko juu.
Tungeomba ya kwamba uwezekane tupate wasimamoto Kikuyu na magari yenye inafanya kazi.
A 25-year-old woman in Malava, Kakamega County is nursing serious injuries after she was allegedly attacked by her husband. It is reported that Evelyn Muchite from Mkavagava area had requested for money from her husband to buy sugar for the family when the husband assaulted her using a machete.
25-years-old Evelyn Muchite is a mother in pain. The bandage on her wrist, evidence of a fresh assault allegedly meted on her by her husband.
Wewe umeenda kunywa pombe na hakuna sukari kwa nyumba. Kweli unatufanya vizuri? Na akaniambia ati sitaki kelele. Nikamwambia kama hutaki kelele enda mahali ulikuwa.
Little did she know that the argument would escalate, causing her unbearable pain.
Sasa yeye alienda tu huko kwa sitting room, akaningoja huko na mimi nilikuwa huko kwa bedroom. Vile akili ilikuja kwa kichwa ati nimesahau sabuni nje, nilikuwa natoka kwenda kuleta sabuni. Nilishtukania tu panga tu kwa mapaja.
Beneath her clothing are scars from previous attacks, a reminder of her abusive husband, who has since expressed remorse.
Mara ya kwanza alinikata tu kwa kichwa na kwa mguu kama niko tu na mtoto mmoja, hata paka nikafendi, hakunitibu.
Mimi sina ubaya na bibi yangu na watoto, familia yangu. Kumsimamia matibabu mimi nishughulike, arudi kwa nyumba yake, tuendelee na maisha.
Evelyn has since fled the matrimonial home back to her parents, who are now seeking justice.
Tukae tuongee, wamutibu, lafu tutengeneze yale yanayotakikana. Pure aende mahakamani.
Evelyn's case coming at a time when cases of gender-based violence are reportedly on the rise in the country, as calls to ensure the perpetrators are brought to book intensify. Kamchemenza for Channel 1 News.
Campaigners against female genital mutilation say the coronavirus pandemic has derailed Kenya's efforts towards ending the retrogressive practice. Amid reports of mass cuttings during this period, schools are closed. It is against this backdrop that a group of men in Tirioko village, Baringo County, have emerged as champions of the anti-FGM sensitization campaign in the area. Take a look. The ongoing coronavirus pandemic has created perfect conditions for proponents of female genital mutilation and early marriages to carry out their motives. Closure of schools has catalyzed an act criminalized by Kenya in 2011. Against the grim backdrop of the coronavirus pandemic, in Tirioko location, Baringo County.
Huyu ni mtoto wanafiatua yote na kumaliza na kunyang'anya.
Carlos Kapkoikat, the area chief, is carrying out a mentorship session. The meeting is being held under the shade of a tree in compliance of the social distancing protocol. Kapkoikat is an anti-female genital mutilation advocate who has received recognition for his efforts to fight the deep-rooted retrogressive cultural practice.
Wakati msichana ameanza kupale hivi, unaona msichana anafitiniwa na mama ama baba kwamba umekuwa msichana, umekuwa mkubwa, sasa nitakana uende utairiwe. Na katika hali hiyo tumeweza kupoteza wasichana wengi katika hali ya kutairiwa. Once ukiona msichana ametairiwa hivi, ni kama indicator ya kuonyesha ametosheka kuolewa.
Through his advocacy work in partnership with an international Christian humanitarian organization, World Vision Kenya, Kapkoikat has saved hundreds of girls from FGM and kept them in school.
Mimi tangu niwe chief katika area hii ya Tirioko nimeweza kuwakamata na kuwashika wenye wanatairi watoto, wenye wamewahi patikana na vitu kama fisu, ile ya kukeketachi, wenye wameweza kupeana mahali pa kwao kuwa ni mahali pa kufanya sherehe na kukunywa pombe na burudani, tumeweza kuingisha ndani.
He has also successfully persuaded most men to lead sensitization campaigns against the outlawed practice.
Niliona si mzuri kukeketa hii watoto. Sasa hii ya darasa la 8 iko soso, ile amemaliza secondary iko soso, ile mwingine tena watoto yangu wote iko sawa. Wale kaketwa hata wengine hako saa mzuri.
Ile watoto wangu watafaidika ni vile wataenda shule, wasichana kwa fulana. Ya pili, kuna uzuri ya hiyo kitu, sababu mtoto asipotairiwa anajifungua vizuri, hana shida yoyote.
Emmanuel Akorilima is a single father of 7, 4 girls and 3 boys. He is aware that besides causing severe pain, FGM has serious short and long-term health complications.
Nakataa hiyo kitu kabisa, na ninaelewa kuhusu tangu mwanzo hata. Kwa hivyo kwa pia hiyo kuna madhara mengi tena. Kuna mtoto kuvujika damu, kuna tena hata ya kusaa ni shida.
He is determined to put all his children, regardless of gender, through school.
Hiyo mambo ya kutairiwa imekataliwa. Kwa hivyo hiyo hakuna kwa hii familia. Na kwamba kwanza usome shule, uende shule mpaka umalize. Kwa hivyo hiyo mambo ya hiyo mimi siwezane naye na sitakubali.
Thanks to the involvement of local administrators, religious leaders, as well-meaning individuals and organizations, the Anti-FGM campaign is now firmly grounded in the grassroots. I am a reformed circumciser. I regret practicing FGM.
Alafu yale tunafundisha wale vijana tunafundisha kulingana na maisha ya wakati huu, ya kwamba ini wakati wa kutafuta kwa upande wa masomo.
The government is determined to end female genital mutilation by 2022, but women and girls' rights groups say it may be impossible. They cite financial hardship for most families during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in regions of the country where the culture is still alive.
When girls are exposed to FGM and boys to Moranism, what happens is that after FGM, they are allowed to engage in teenage sex, which leads to child pregnancies and just having children at a young age. They are also exposed to health complications, and as a result, they cannot be able to actually go to school. And of course, after that initiation, they are actually looked as adults. So they are ready for marriage. Some are actually betrothed to get married immediately.
The World Health Organization estimates at least 200 million girls and women alive today in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia have undergone the female genital mutilation, FGM, the partial or total removal of the external female genitalia, also known as cutting. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Interioko location, Baringo County.
On our Facebook page, Lynette Minayo, you're saying you're watching Channel 1 Weekend. Irene Athiambo, you're also watching. And then we have Vihan, you're saying you're watching from Kisumu. Samuel Ngala, you tuned in also from Huruma, Gay, Nairobi. Thank you so much. Keep talking to us, keep tweeting and texting. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. Contribute to our discussion tonight on family matters. Shortly, we'll be hosting the National Nurses Association of Kenya President Alfred Obengo on some of the plight of nurses during this time. They are fighting COVID-19 and how best the challenges should be addressed. Only on Channel 1 Weekend, Family Matters KBC is our hashtag tonight. A section of members of the Garissa County Assembly are calling on the government implementing agencies to stop using insecurity to deny residents essential. The ward representatives say some arbitrary decisions are hurting livelihoods and those concerned should be mindful of all involved instead of rushed moves. This and more stories in the news making headlines in the counties.
A section of members of the Garissa County Assembly said all the residents in every corner of the county should be considered for the year to be launched hunger safety net program, irrespective of where they have settled. The ward rep said the move by the government to stop some economic activities in the area like quarrying was not only hurting livelihoods, but driving many to hopelessness.
Who actually called and make sure that Garissa County Assembly members are involved, and we are also appealing to them that we involve from the beginning to the last moment, so that we also advise them who are the right people to be targeted and who are the people who are suffering for that matter.
Elsewhere, a section of Muslim clerics in Mombasa have staged a demonstration to protest the demolition of a mosque under construction in the Mwatamba area of Nyali constituency. They are accusing area member of parliament Mohammed Ali of being behind the move, but the Nyali MP has defended himself, claiming the mosque was just being used as a cover-up to grab public land.
Kwa hivyo yeye amekosea Mwenyezi Mungu, amekosea Waislamu wa dunia nzima kuvunja msikiti. Kwa hivyo ikisha masaa 72 hajaomba msamaha hadharani, tutafanya mpango mwingine kama viongozi wa dini, tusome dua maalumu yake tu makhsus
tunataka tukae chini kama viongozi, tutafute huyo mtu ambaye hatujui ni nani, akae chini na wakazi wa Mwembe Legeza na mbunge wa Nyali na MCA, chief, wakubwa, watumishi wa serikali wale ambao watatumwa na commissioner, atueleze ni mradi gani anataka kutengeneza, ni njia ipi hata dhuru hawa watu wengine, na kama ni mradi atueleze ni nani anajenga, iwekwe pale bango isemekane ni msikiti unajengwa ama ni nyumba inajengwa ama ni maduka, yaandikwe pale na approval imetoka county ili tujue. Sasa hatujui ni nani huyu anajenga.
While a new Kenya Medical Training Institute would be set up in Nyambene area of Meru County, an initiative being spearheaded by the national government. Speaking during the laying of the foundation stone, Igembe South MP John Paul Murigi said the institution would be a great boost to development in the area.
Ili jambo tunalifanya ili tuweze kuinua maua hii, ili tuweze angalau kufanya maua munji ambao unapendeka, munji ambao pia vijana wetu wanaweza kuwa wanapata kazi kwa urahisi.
And Kenya Union of Special Needs Education Teachers KUSNET Secretary General James Torome has called on Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha to consult education stakeholders in planning the reopening date of schools. Torome asked the CS to put in place measures to avoid the spread of COVID-19 when schools reopen.
Let him not be a lone ranger. Bring all the stakeholders. We sit down and we wage the way forward. You cannot be just moving to institution where you have not provided funds for the adjustment, and then you are telling us that the country is ready to open the institution.
Finally, street children in Kisii town had a reason to smile after they received food donations from a cross-section of university leavers in the area. About 30 street urchins received milk, bread and biscuits from the team, who are also social workers in the area.
If we get well-wishers and governmental or non-governmental organizations to support us, like, we're always willing to do the charity work.
A police officer has been killed and another wounded in a knife attack in the coastal resort of Sousse, Tunisia. In the same breath, the police in Birmingham City are manhunting a suspect who killed 1 and wounded 7 others. For more news, let's go global.
A police officer has been killed and another wounded in a knife attack in the coastal resort of Sousse, Tunisia. 3 assailants were shot dead after the incident, which is being described as a terrorist attack. The attackers also stole guns and a police vehicle. In 2015, Sousse was a scene of one of Tunisia's worst attacks when 38 people were killed by a gunman. The latest incident comes 2 days after a new government was sworn in. And police in Birmingham City are conducting a manhunt for a knifeman who killed 1 person and wounded 7 others. Police have, however, ruled out terrorism in the stabbings. They say they are searching for 1 suspect. Meanwhile, Mali's former president Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta has flown out of the country for medical treatment after suffering a minor stroke. The 75-year-old leader, who was ousted in a coup last month, was flown to a hospital in the United Arab Emirates. Elsewhere, mass evacuation is ongoing in Japan as they brace for a typhoon landing. More than 200,000 people have been ordered to evacuate areas of the country threatened by an approaching storm. The typhoon has cut power to more than 3,000 homes in Okinawa. Finally, renewed protests are expected in Belarus, calling for longtime President Alexander Lukashenko to step down as a crackdown intensifies. Over the weekend, security agents in the capital, Minsk, detained dozens of people, mostly students, in the 4th weekend of protests. Top opposition activist Olga Kowalkowa has said she has taken refuge in Poland amid jail threats.
Another break right here at Channel 1 Weekend will do. When we return, sports news is up next. Later, family matters will follow. Stay with us.
On the next episode of Ashoka.
I had told you before, Queen Mother. Siamak would get his right only by snatching it. I don't know why you are not doing anything about it.
May you be victorious. I believe you will leave me spellbound by your performance.
Certainly.
I know whom you're looking for. But Siamak is not here. But I'm sure that he will be here to witness his friends and brothers' victory for sure.
Next on. HS has filed the suit. Do you have what I asked you?
Yes.
Good. I need it now.
I'll take it to you this afternoon.
Why did you send that email? Don't tell me that you didn't do it.
No, I won't deny it. I did it to get even with you for what you did to me.
Because of you, I was suspended from school. You got me into trouble.
I'll find you, Ramon. I don't know how, but I swear I'll find you.
In love with Ramon.
Good people of the 254 and beyond.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. The legendary show is on, baby.
Absolutely. Music concert.
Pull it up.
And it's a feeling in my heart.
Top model.
With it, group drop.
This vibes plus so much more. Join us
every Monday at 10 p.m., baby.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m., on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa, and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Welcome to the sports news. Raheem Sterling's late penalty gave England a 1-0 victory as they started their UEFA Nations League campaign in Iceland, despite the host squandering the chance to rescue a point by missing an injury time spot kick. In a chaotic end to a largely dull encounter, Sterling looked to have secured 3 points for coach Gareth Southgate's side when he rolled in an 89th minute spot kick after his shot was handled by Serir Ingerson, who was then sent off after receiving a second yellow card. In other results, Belgium beat Denmark by 2-0, while France beat Sweden 1-0. Portugal thrashed Croatia 4-1 as Montenegro claimed a 2-0 over win over Cyprus. Six-time champion Serena Williams fought back from a slow start to beat fellow American Sloane Stephens and reach the last 16 of the U.S. Open. Williams, aged 38, was sluggish in the opening set before raising her intensity to win 2-6, 6-2, 6-2 against 26th seed Stephens in New York. Williams, aiming for a record equaling 24th Grand Slam singles title, will face Greek 15th seed Maria Maria Sakkari next. Sakkari beat Williams in the 3 sets at the Western and Southern Open last week. Last year's U.S. Open run-up, Daniil Medvedev cruised past world number 138 J.J. Wolf in straight sets to reach the 4th round in New York. The Russian third seed beat the American 21-year-old 6-3, 6-3 and 6-2 and is yet to drop a set at this year's tournament at Flushing Meadows. And that's it for the sport tonight. There is a lot of feedback coming in, especially on Twitter, regarding our discussion tonight on the frontline healthcare workers. Some of you giving reasons why it's important to be protecting them. And we have Leila who is saying that these nurses are helping us to flatten the curve in one way or another. They deserve the necessary support from the government. Nurses need to be healthy and taken care of. That's Tata Hauria who is talking about that. Morris Kipkeni, you're also saying that this is why the government should protect the frontline health workers and facilitate proper patient care. All right. Ian Ochieng, you're also saying that the government should address their welfare because currently they are doing or going through hardships trying to help the COVID-19 pandemic patients. Dennis Shark, you're saying very important discussion there. They put their lives on the line to ensure that we are safe during this pandemic. Indeed, you're right. Over 21,000 people have recovered from COVID-19, and the latest report by the Council of Governors indicates that about 167 healthcare providers have tested positive. That's in the 46 counties, excluding Nairobi County. 167 have tested positive, and they have continued to decry personal protective equipment of a poor quality. So tonight, those issues are being laid bare by the president of the National Nurses Association of Kenya, Alfred Obengo, will be addressing some of the issues that the nurses are raising during this time. They are at the front line responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, and some offering solutions to these problems that nurses are facing. Again, just to remind you, 2020 is a year that was designated by the World Health Organization as the year for the nurse. So how best should they be protected? That's our big question tonight. At Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News, the hashtag Family Matters KBC. That discussion coming up shortly after the weather forecast with Irene Muchuma Odim. Byron Abuli has been our sign language interpreter tonight. Do enjoy the program, and of course, God bless. Keep tweeting.
Hello to you. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. Be prepared for chilly weather conditions in the next 24 hours. In the capital, temperatures are dropping to 19 degrees Celsius, down from 24 degrees Celsius. That is what we experienced today, and still we had cold weather conditions. We have no choice than to keep warm for our own good. Tomorrow, such images would characterize the better part of your morning hours, especially for you in Nairobi, Meru, Machakos, and counties around those regions. Tonight, Kericho is the coldest. Temperatures stand at 11 degrees Celsius. There is heavy downpour in the county of Kisumu and areas around the region. There are showers over a few places in the capital. Similarly, in the northwestern parts of the country, this, as the rest of the country, has been covered with partly cloudy conditions, and that is how the night will be. Tomorrow, there will be rains over several places. The capital will be affected: Meru, Nyeri, Kitale, Eldoret, Nakuru. There will be sunny intervals in the county of Narok, a few areas around the border of Kenya and South Sudan, and also areas in Samburu will experience rains during the early morning hours. The northeastern parts of the country will mainly experience sunny conditions, weather patterns that will also prevail in the southeastern lowlands, but then these will just be over a few places. The county of Lamu will be sunny, but in Mombasa and Kilifi, there will be showers over a few places, and these will change during the afternoon hours. There will be showers accompanied by thunderstorms over several places in the western parts of the country. This will largely affect the county of Kisumu and areas around Kakamega, Kisii, Kericho and Bungoma, and also a few areas around Lodwar and Samburu. The northeastern parts of the country will continue to experience sunny conditions, as well as the southeastern lowlands. Wet conditions will prevail over a few places at the coastal strip. And just as told earlier, temperatures are dropping across the country. The capital will experience highs of 19 degrees Celsius. The highest across the country will stand at 33 degrees Celsius, and these will be experienced in Mandera and Lodwar. And on that note, let's now cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast. Be warm. See you tomorrow.
And the midwife, the WHO said that a shortage of about 6 million nurses would be experienced this year. A number of healthcare workers have been infected with COVID-19, and this bringing concerns on the country's capacity to deal with this pandemic. Again, due to the COVID-19, many pregnant women and the sick have avoided both public and private hospitals. So the question is, how many healthcare workers, how many nurses do we have in the country? How many have been infected with COVID-19? What is the country's capacity in response to COVID-19? Again, the concerns being raised by the frontline health workers, have they been addressed months after the country reported the first case of COVID-19? Tonight, we speak with the president, the National Nurses Association of Kenya, Alfred Obengo, to bring us to speed on what is happening, the welfare of nurses, and much more. So do join us even as we welcome him to the show. Thank you so much, sir, for your time, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Purity, for having me around. It's always a pleasure.
On Thursday this week, you were celebrating this year of the nurse and the midwife. Maybe you can tell us more about what it was about and why 2020.
We want to thank the WHO DG, that's the Director General, Dr. Tedros, and the board of the World Health Organization for seeing fit to declare the year of the nurse as the year 2020. That's the nurse and the midwife. The year 2020, that was actually declared the year of the nurse and the midwife, is a culmination of the Nursing Now campaign, which we started 3 years ago. The Nursing Now campaign was a global movement, a global campaign, which was supposed to, and is still supposed to, raise the profile of the nurse and the midwife, and actually put in more efforts to ensure that the community, the society we live with, understand more the role, the specific mandate of a nurse and midwife. Because we believe as nurses and midwives that we've been misunderstood insofar as our real mandate and role is concerned within the healthcare delivery system. Moving forward, the Nursing Now campaign started 3 years ago. This year, we are also celebrating the birthday of the founder of our profession, that is Florence Nightingale.
And was it like a coincidence that WHO said it's going to be 2020, or it's because of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I can't tell. Some things, just like 200 years ago, Florence Nightingale, the founder of this profession, exactly 200 years ago, was actually treating the victims of the Crimean War. So it's such a coincidence that after 200 years, we are putting nurses in the same scenario, where we have a situation whereby the nursing fraternity, the midwifery fraternity, actually holding the world in their hands. This is demonstrated by the number of recoveries that we've been reporting, because we know within the healthcare workforce, 70% actually of the healthcare workforce is composed of nurses. So they're the ones who are doing the bulk work, even so far as having all these recoveries. So we didn't know that when this year was declared the year of the nurse, we are going to have the COVID. But it has demonstrated that the importance, the critical role that the nursing profession plays within the healthcare.
And talking of demonstration of the critical role that a nursing sector play in the healthcare sector, let's talk about the frontline healthcare workers, how nurses are coming in the fight against COVID-19, and what exact role they are playing during this time. We
at the policy table, through our Director of Nursing Services, that's Dr. Nandili, insofar as planning and evaluating the strategies that the Ministry of Health has put in place to mitigate this invisible enemy. We now, as the clinical nurses, we are on the ground. We are at the infectious diseases isolation centers, and if any minute, any second, if you visit any isolation center, you'll find that at any moment the nursing staff is more than any other staff put together. So that means we are even more exposed. So we are the front line. And I've been saying that we are not just on the front line. We are the front line and the last line in defense insofar as fighting these invisible enemies.
And what do you mean by last line?
So the specific role of the nurses and midwife within the COVID pandemic war is so clear. And that's I've said that if you go to any clinical environment, any isolation facility, you'll find that the bulk of the staff who are managing the COVID, there are people who have tested COVID positive. I don't want to call them victims because that's a bit, it also plugs into the stigma. So our people who have tested positive, you'll find that the bulk of the staff who are attending to them are nurses. Go to any isolation facilities today. The people who are attending to them, the people who are giving them drugs, finding out how did you sleep and stuff, are nurses. That is not to say that there are also other healthcare professionals whom we are working with, because it's a team. We have laboratory technicians or technologists who are doing the samples. We have the doctors and the clinical officers who actually, we work with them at the triage point. But ultimately, we also have the support system, the security. It's a big team. But ultimately, it's the nurse who forms the bulk of the clinical staff.
All right. Before we talk about the cry of the nurse in the country right now, the latest report by the Council of Governors highlighted that, estimated that about 167 healthcare workers have been infected with COVID-19. And this is a huge number considering they are at the front line in the fight against coronavirus. And it's even scaring most Kenyans who have shied away from going to hospitals. Would you say the infection, would you link this to the protection of healthcare providers in the country right now?
Right from the beginning, we'd cried, we'd agitated, we had advocated for our people, one, to be trained and to be equipped. And we also advocated for more staffing. So we are coming from a background whereby we have a healthcare system which is under-equipped, understaffed, and under-trained. So insofar as our more health workers getting this, we knew it was going to happen because it's a normal scientific phenomenon. But we wanted to put efforts, put measures, infection control protocols, so that we have minimal health workers being infected by the disease. And one of the most critical elements insofar as the IPC infection prevention protocols is concerned is provision of the protective gear. That's why we made it a song. Give us the adequate and quality protective gear, and then train these people how to use this those that know how to use this protective gear. Don't just give them. So that one we made a clarion call for our partners, the government, to assist us the same. It has not been very adequate, but at least we are seeing something trickling down to our members insofar as the provision of the PP is concerned, where the COVID fund also had to come in, the Equity Bank, and we are part of that team that now is procuring and distributing the PPs to our health workers. But having said that, on the issue of risk exposure, to the extent that we've also lost our colleagues, we need to put more effort insofar as protecting our people is concerned. We've gotten reports from counties and other health facilities that they're providing our people with substandard protective gear. To me, that is very immoral. And we've also said that for this time, let us actually look at the interest of the health worker. Let's put it above the business interest. Even if you have to inflate those prices, but let the PPs be quality. Because we've had a situation whereby even before you don the coverall, you know, that suit, and before even you go to attend the patient, it is torn. And it is bought at a very expensive price. So let's have quality PPs and involve the user in the technical evaluation committee so that they be able to, because they're the ones who are going to use it. You may be procuring something that you don't know why it's going to be used. So involve the user in the procurement process so that it can be able to take care of those quality control measures.
Okay, and the nurses have also been complaining about the allowances. I don't know what kind of allowance. Is it a COVID allowance? Are these allowances that were never paid even before COVID? Just tell us the issues that are in the nursing sector.
The president expressed a lot of goodwill, and he made an announcement to the effect that he released a welfare package. And on top of that welfare package, there's also some economic stimulus package that was also released to the national and the county government. Part of the welfare package was supposed just to boost the morale, motivate the healthcare workers and the nurses during this pandemic. And a special allowance called COVID emergency allowance was released to some are getting between 20 to 10,000. So our cadre was getting 15,000 for 3 months. That was laudable. Unfortunately, it's only for 3 months, and COVID is not for 3 months. So we'll also appeal to the President, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, to extend that COVID allowance. 2, there's an issue of the risk that we're exposed to. If you know the statistics of the health workers who've gotten infected, out of those statistics, more than half of the healthcare infected are nurses. So we've also asked, is it wise, is it prudent to pay this person who is so much at risk, exposed to risk, a risk allowance of 3,850? It is not, I mean, it doesn't make economical sense. So we're also appealing for that risk allowance to be increased, to be commensurate with the kind of risk exposures that our people are exposed to in their clinical environment. And then something that really perturbs me, and I'll never understand, even at a time when you're fighting an invincible enemy, we are still having a situation whereby the health workers are on strike. Not because of what they want to be added, but because of not really getting their normal emoluments as they should be at the right time. I think that is very shameful.
The nurses have been on record saying that we cannot continue taking care of patients without what you mentioned, enough and adequate PPEs of good quality. We are talking about the allowances that you just mentioned. Some have even gone on strike. So what is the limit for nurses before they could continue operating during this time in the country? Because again, their leaders are coming out and saying health workers going on strike right now, it's inhuman.
The strikes that we've had, which I would say they are not really national, but some counties here and there, It's because we've pushed them to the wall. We've really pushed them to the wall. But we've come out under very, very difficult circumstances where we are understaffed to attend and save lives. You even remember, as part of the welfare package that the president announced, we were supposed to employ more nurses and more healthcare staff. It is just trickling down slowly. 4 months after the pronouncement. So definitely we still need those nurses and healthcare workers to be employed. Because in any case, we even entered into this war as a healthcare fraternity with an understaffed healthcare workforce. So I would wish to strongly appeal to the government, both two levels of government, to be more sensitive, more proactive insofar as addressing these issues.
The psychosocial support for healthcare workers, there was a call center that was launched in this facility. Maybe you can tell us the kind of support that nurses at the front line are getting during this time.
So specifically on the call center, we have it here. It runs, for now it's running during the official working hours, and we are open to all distress calls from healthcare workers across the board. And people assume, I don't know why they assume that healthcare workers are somehow superhuman, that we are able to undergo any stressful situation without feeling the pinch. We are also human. We also need debriefing when after attending those patients in the clinical environment, especially our people who are in the isolation facilities. There's a lot of psychological trauma even when you go back to your family. You have your spouse, your husband or your wife, you have your children, and they look at you. Mommy, you have come from that place. We don't want to, don't even hug us. So you find that even within the family setup, back home, life has changed for these people who are attending the COVID patients. Because the family are like, no, you go and bathe first. And even psychologically, the interaction is not as it used to be. It's just my prayer, and I keep on praying that within our colleagues who have been working and are still working in this isolation center, it doesn't disrupt the family fabric between them and their spouses and their children.
There are instances where healthcare workers have had to turn people away because they don't have skills on how to deal with, even identify a case of COVID-19. How many have you trained?
We announced the first case. There was panic all over, especially within the healthcare workforce. And the specific cases were in Kakamega and Kisii, when there's a doctor who just took off. We can't blame them. And that's why we said that the biggest tool, the most important tool to fight this fear is education, training, to train people how on case management, and then to equip them with the right gear so that they feel protected. So those are the steps we've been taking insofar as fighting that fear is concerned. I would say that the training, probably we are at halfway. I don't have the real statistics because of the feedback mechanism, and it's still going on. But we are at halfway, especially within the isolation facilities. So we are also augmenting the efforts by the government to train through their resources. We have also mobilized resources also to train our people.
And some of them are decrying of neglect, especially when they turn positive, when they get infected by the disease. How is your department, your association, or even the ministry, is there a protocol, a way of caring for the ones that have turned positive in the fight against COVID-19?
That's a very critical question, Purity. Very critical question. We saw the government making efforts, and we even opened an isolation unit specifically for health workers. It was officially opened by Honorable the CS Mutai Kagwe, but also that unit got overwhelmed. So we have also our colleagues who have been treated in various peripheral units. But for us as leaders in the professional associations will have wished and still wish at a strong appeal for the health workers to be treated with dignity upon falling sick, especially this during this period. So to that extent, we've tried as much as possible to mitigate areas where our people will be treated unfairly. And that's one of the strategies that we put in place is this the psychosocial center and the call center where we respond to a distress call. You can imagine probably every week or a fortnight I receive about 5 phone calls, some texts that, hey, Mr. President, I've tested positive, I need help, things like that. So apart from providing my leadership role, I've also become a counselor, because once in a while you receive those distress calls, but after talking to them, you still refer them to our call center and our counseling experts who are available throughout the country. But we will wish to have our people be treated with dignity upon falling sick during this time. It has not been very smooth, I can say, for some of our people who have tested positive, but we still appeal to the health facilities to accord them dignified treatment.
As we finish up on the challenges that are facing the healthcare workers or nurses during this time, there have been a lot of complaints, PPEs, we are talking of allowances, but what should a conducive environment for a nurse who is at the front line in the fight against coronavirus be like?
A country like China, a country like, especially Singapore. Singapore, by virtue of putting up very, very stringent infection prevention control measures, they had minimal infection within the healthcare workers, because they were trailed and monitored through GPS, where you live, who do you interact with, where do you go after your duty. It's not a matter of policing you, but actually they were doing that to protect you. And some were even housed in special hostels so that they don't mingle with others. So with that kind of environment, the minimal infection spread within the healthcare workers, both healthcare workers to healthcare workers and patient to healthcare workers. And then their welfare is also taken care of, because when you're plucked from your loved ones or from your social fabric, I mean, that's already a punishment. So you need to be compensated for that. So their welfare was also taken care of. But that's in the same wisdom that I believe the President made that pronouncement on the welfare package, so that this the welfare of the health workers can be taken care of. We heard of situations whereby some hotels were identified for housing our health workers. I have not received a report from any healthcare worker who works in an isolation facility who was ever called to go and sleep or be housed in those hotels. So we don't know who sleeps in those hotels. While it was supposed to be we, the health workers, who are supposed to be given those incentives. So as of now, we can say that, what I can just say that our nurses, our midwives, our healthcare professionals are working under very, very difficult circumstances. But we've been able to produce positive results. The number of recoveries I keep on hearing daily, and even the CS and the CAS keep on referring to the good work by the health workers. To me, I'll continue to salute them, and I can tell them that nobody will ever pay you enough for the work you're doing today. But we will still remind the government that they still have an obligation, a duty to pay us, reward us in a way that is commensurate to the work that we've done during this period and will continue doing.
And on the management of COVID-19, what are some of the unique features that you've been able to identify as you continue to interact with patients? Because you talked about, we have a huge number of people are recovering on a daily basis.
There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of heat, so it has been an added pressure to them. as they work with the COVID patients. And then some are also COVID patients are also very, very sick. Some are in ICU. In fact, there's a time that all our ICU are packed. So what I can say is that within those difficult circumstances, they have tried to put their best foot forward.
We are now winding up. You mentioned when we were starting this show that in many cases, or for so many years, nurses have been misunderstood. So let's talk about the role of the nurse, even as we celebrate the nurse this year.
Imagine the hospitals were not functioning during this pandemic. Where will we be? I mean, we'll not even be having those press briefs, daily press updates. It's because of the work that the healthcare workers are doing, the nurses are doing, is why we are feeding into the daily updates. That's where they get their statistics, they get even issues to talk about. So I still salute the health workers, the nurses, for the wonderful work and the sacrifice they have given during this time. And I still want to repeat, as much as we are sacrificing to save the world, but let's not sacrifice our lives, because safety begins with you.
Safety begins with you.
Keep safe.
Do I take that as your parting shot?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Alfred Obengo, the President, National Nurses Association of Kenya, for your time and for coming here, for allowing us to interview you, and of course, welcoming us to your office.
Always my pleasure.
Okay, thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of our show tonight. Thank you so much for watching. It's always great having your company. My name is Purity Museo. Do enjoy the rest of our programming, and God bless.